I'm here to tell you about some of the best and the worst books that I've read this year. Or last year, because Happy New Year, or not if you're reading this at a later date, but it's just the first week of 2023, so I thought I'd wrap up all the books I read last year. I aimed to read 50 books, 50, which to some people is a lot, to some people is not a lot. I work in the book publishing industry, so to the people that I may work with or associate with, that is not a lot. Some people read like 100 to 200 books a year, which is insane to me, but to people like my friends and my family, they think that's a lot. I aim to read that. Did I read that many? No, I read 36 books, which I think was still like quite impressive considering, you know, I have a life, I have jobs, etc. I'm gonna quickly wrap this up. I actually did a TikTok video on this, like a whole analysis. Basically, there was this trend going around, you know, and it's like your Spotify Wrapped. There's this trend going around on TikTok that's like my reading unwrapped, and basically you go through your bookish summary thing. I'll link it down below and you can follow my TikTok on there as well, but for now we're going to focus on some of the best ones, keep it positive. These are in no particular order in that they are in front of me, and I'm going to pick the first one up. So How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. Absolutely loved this book. So different to what I normally read. I do read contemporary, which this is, but this is sort of like a thriller, mystery, psychological thriller sort of thing. How to Kill Your Family is self-explanatory. It's a fictional book, not non-fiction luckily, and it follows the story of Grace, and she hates her family basically, and she goes through telling you how she killed each and every one of them. It is very humorous. Bella Mackie has got a really great sense of humour that, like, you can see that in Grace's character. I actually listened to this as an audiobook, and I can still picture driving to Bournemouth with the audiobook playing and just like genuinely laughing in the car and like finding it just like fascinating. I think she has a real way of telling these stories and explaining these characters, and Grace has such a prominent and memorable character as well. I think it was just written so well. It wasn't until probably a few months after I read this I realised who Bella Mackie is. So she's the wife of Greg James, the celeb. I started following her, and then I then saw that she was doing an event with Greg James in conversation to talk about this book. So I didn't have anyone to go with, so I went alone at Conway Hall, and it was really fun and it was really funny, and I'm so glad I went. It was only like a £5 or something, and it was a really nice evening. It was about an hour and a half long, and they were selling the book, so I was like, oh, because I liked it so much, I'll buy the book as well, which I've never done before. And then I spoke to her and she signed it, which was fun. Also, never had a book signed before, so this is many firsts. Just, if you've seen this everywhere, it's for a good reason. I will just say it is not realistic in that loads of the reviews are like, oh, that would never happen. It's like, yes, obviously this would never happen. But yeah, just 5 out of 5. Next one, completely different vibe. Okay, Hello Stranger by Rachel Marks. This isn't actually what the final book looks like because I was lucky enough to get a proof copy, so it's like an advanced reader copy. It follows the story of Lucy and Jamie and their romantic relationship. Very hard hitting because it talks about pregnancy and motherhood. I found it very relatable and really emotional. They have the perfect relationship, quote perfect relationship. It flicks between the present day and the current day, the present day and like in the past. You're sort of left wondering why this perfect relationship didn't work out, and it's because they had difficulties in agreeing on what they want for their future in regards to having children. I cried, I bawled at this. If I have the video I'll try and put it in here, but I absolutely bawled at this. I just thought it was really well told. I thought it was really realistic as opposed to How to Kill Your Family. This was just so well written, and I think it really demystifies that sort of like expectation of women to have children. So I really recommend that one. The next one is The Love Hypothesis. So another romance novel, but more light-hearted. Obviously this is like the TikTok sensation. There you go. Like if you think of a TikTok book, you think of The Love Hypothesis. I read this on holiday, so already I was getting the good vibes because I was like on a sunbed by the pool. But this follows the story of I don't know, I'm really bad at remembering names, so Adam Coulson and Olive Smith. Okay, so Olive bumps into him on the first scene and kisses him, and he's like a doctor, researcher, lecturer, I don't really know, at her lab school, and it's all about fake dating, which I've never actually read before, and everyone talks about like fake dating tropes and like it's good or it's bad and that sort of thing, and I never really had an opinion on it because I've never read anything like that. So I read this and I really enjoyed it. It was quite unique in that it had a lot of quite a lot of sciencey things in there. So although it was a romance book, like a rom-com book, it does have a lot of like science references in there, and it's sort of about his and her career as well. There's a lot of stuff that they do together to enhance their careers. I just thought it was really good. I couldn't really answer the question if it's overhyped or not, to be honest, because I really enjoyed it and I went in it with, I don't know what expectation I really had, because I knew that a lot of people liked it, and sometimes I follow a lot what other people think and sometimes I'm the opposite, but I just really enjoyed this one. The next one is 6 Days by Danny Atkins. Again, I really really cried at this one. This, from what I remember, because it was actually quite a while ago, this was about a woman trying to find her husband that went missing. I should actually check. Oh yeah, of course. So it was on their wedding day as well, so it's their wedding day and he doesn't show up, and she knows that it would never happen, like that would never be the case, so what's happened to him? So it is a romance book again, if you can see my favourite genre of book here. But it was really emotional, really just like got you in all the feels. Really enjoyed that. Again, this is not what the final cover looks like because this is a proof copy again. Then we have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've done a whole separate video on this, so I'll link it down below. I've got the beautiful sprayed edges here. I joined the hype with Colleen Hoover. I loved It Ends With Us, so It Starts With Us was a must for me. I actually pre-ordered it and it was my first ever pre-ordered book, and I really liked it just because I knew I was going to, basically, and I knew the characters, so it was sort of like I was going back to a story that I was going back to a story that I already knew stuff about, and the characters. Hard again because it talks about sort of like toxic relationships and domestic violence. I was really proud of Lily for sort of like how far she's come and wanting to develop her relationships with Atlas, but at the same time I just wanted her to put down a bit more. Yeah, overall really enjoyed this, and it had the sort of like wholesome ending that I wanted. I read it in about 24 hours. So they're sort of like, I would say, my favourite books of the year. Some are really popular, some maybe you wouldn't have heard of as much, but I just want to touch on some of the ones that weren't necessarily bad, but I was just really disappointed by. I don't think I've necessarily read a bad book this year because some of them I've just decided not to finish, which actually maybe I should start with this one. Not Safe for Work. Unfortunately, I didn't finish this. This is a proof copy, so I feel really bad even saying this because I was technically gifted it, but, you know, important to be honest. It just didn't do it for me. Like, I'm not really gonna like dwell and say the writing's awful, blah, 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 but it just didn't do it for me. It was boring, it was slow paced, and I just had really high expectations. A really similar book, Must Love Books. This is all about the publishing industry, and this proof cover, again, it's not the final cover, this proof cover is of an entry-level job alert in publishing, and it sort of like uses humour to take the piss out of the publishing industry. And I thought, wow, this is gonna be so relatable. And it was, don't get me wrong, I did highlight a lot of quotes in here that are sort of, made me a bit of a stab in the heart or made me laugh. It just didn't go where I wanted it to, and I found it quite unrealistic, so unfortunately that was a bit of a letdown for me. And then finally, Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. She keeps coming up on my For You page on TikTok. I just don't know. I actually listened to this in audiobook, but I think I've read a lot of these kind of books before, so for me this just wasn't anything new. Nothing that she was saying was really mind-blowing. I didn't really take anything away from it that I didn't already know, so maybe that's just a case of me knowing everything, but it's quite a chunky book and I just felt that there wasn't enough content in it. A lot of it was just sort of like waffling on, unfortunately. That is actually a non-fiction one, that's sort of like a self-help CBT one. As I said, I read 36 books, so there's a range in there. They weren't all sort of romance ones, but the ones that I enjoyed the most were, that's what I sort of like take the pleasure in reading the most. I'll touch on a couple of the other ones as well that I haven't got physical copies for. So for example, Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl by Joya Goffney. This is one that we publish at work at Hotkey Books, and I just loved it. It was so wholesome and it was so like necessary for young adults to read. I think that like more books should be like that and having taboo topics like that discussed more. It talks about like vaginismus and sex as a young person when your parents don't condone it. Yeah, I just thought it was a must read. And then another one I really enjoyed was also something that we publish at work that I read as an audiobook but on the sort of adult division where I work in the kids division, and was Catherine Ryan's autobiography. She's just so funny. Like, I didn't really know anything about her before. I've obviously seen her on a couple of things on TV, but I just thought her attitude to life was brilliant. Yeah, I think there was a lot that could be taken away from that, and I just thought she's really funny, and she's obviously been through quite a lot, and she's basically just thought, yeah, it. So that is my reading wrap up. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if you plan to read any of these books. I'd love to know, so drop it in the comment section down below, and hopefully see you in some of my new videos soon. Bye.